Okay, next visitor.
Jim?
Yeah, we covered it together.
All right. Mr. The CEDACOG representatives.
They were on the schedule. I was wondering why you passed it.
What's that?
They were on the agenda. I was wondering why you passed it, why you're missing.
Doesn't matter to us.
Well, I think
Because
we really needed to address that issue before we got further into the meeting.
Okay, you're up.
Okay, well, thank you, and Dan will give you an update on the meeting we recently had, and we'll go from there.
As you may recall from the last meeting, we planned to and suggested we reach out to DCED, the Department of Community and Economic Development, to discuss the situation here in Penn Township with the Municipal Authority and the grants. And we were able to meet with them a week ago on Friday, last Friday, and we had a good meeting with them. They think that this project is a needed project and are supportive of it. However, without the low and moderate benefit, it does not qualify. They proposed at the meeting that they would reach out to their peers within the department itself and within other departments on the state level to see if they could find some way to resolve the issue and continue with the project. I reached out to them yesterday to see if they had made any progress, and not as yet. They don't have any progress to report. So that's where it stands.
Okay.
I guess the timeline restriction for us is how long the bids would be open, right? And that's another.
You probably have about 45 days remaining in the validity
So
of your bids.
you're well aware of that.
Yes, and the department is as well.
Okay.
The meeting involved the grants manager assigned to Perry County, which is Tony Gabriel, and the program chief, Don Enrico, who really calls the shots in the program. And I think it would be fair to characterize the meeting as very positive. They were committed to finding any way they could within the regulations to keep the funding in your community. Donna did indicate that she wanted to have a conversation with DEP relative to the compliance or the compliance requirements and the permit requirements associated with the Faust properties. She wanted to see what was going on there. So she did agree to make that outreach. That's pretty much where it was. It's been left. And I think we're waiting for DEP and other peers within her agency to look at how they might be able to address this. So we don't have any news, good news or bad news, except it was a very positive meeting.
So we don't know nothing about whether it could be part of the money that we have at hand, all the money, or none with regards to that.
We don't know that absolutely. I think it's all of the money if I had to predict. We did explain about fire protection provided to the Faust properties. We did go so far as to say that the authority had even discussed taking that line up the hill to a pump station and a hydrant at the top of the hill rather than at the bottom of the hill. Put that on the table so they knew all of the options. They were going back and review their notes and their file and see what they could come up with.
Phil, I guess even if there wouldn't be final resolution of what you're discussing by the deadline for the board to award here, is that necessarily the end of the world if the board would end up having to reject all bids? I say that because depending upon what decision may be made, it's possible it'd have to be rebid anyway.
Right.
Depending on what scope the project.
No, it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
You can certainly reject all bids and re-advertise. You might have to you may want to make redesigns, as you're suggesting. The other thing that you can do is the termination of bids is because of the terms of the bid documents, and that's a contractual relationship that the two parties can agree to amend. we've had many situations where we've gone back to the contractor and said, we want to hire you, we've got this issue, can you hold your bid for another 60, 90, 100 days? And depending on what the market is and a number of factors, oftentimes a contractor will do that. So we can get 120 days by law,
Yes,
but after that, we have to negotiate.
yes, and it can become difficult depending upon what changes are made to the project and whether
Yeah.
there's a possibility that the second low bidder now potentially would be the low bidder, if you follow me, so.
Yes.
There'd be a number of things that have to be reviewed. pretty
Yeah,
carefully.
and you would have to review those very carefully. We have been in a couple of situations where when the second low bidder or the non-apparent low bidder did file a grievance, and in the cases we've been involved with, the courts have upheld the right of the authority to select the most responsible bidder for their community. The other thing I want to throw out, and this is off the wall, and I'm not looking for any reaction or response from the authority, but I think you understand that Dan and I have brainstormed this thing. This has had a lot of discussion amongst the 8 staff persons at CEDACOG involved in community development. Everybody is painfully familiar with this project. We've discussed it with DCED. We've rolled this around an awful lot. And one of the things that has come to us, and you may or may not be aware, but one of the other staff members at CEDACOG on my staff, Jamie Schroeder, is actually working closely with Duncannon Borough on a water system improvement with Duncannon Borough. And a recent application was developed on their behalf. A income survey was done as part of that process, and Duncannon Borough has documented that they have approximately 450 users, and of those users, about 65% are low and moderate income. One of the things that I would throw out for thought and consideration is there is the likelihood that if the two authorities were to partner and become an authority, if you will, the low and moderate income percentages for the combined service area would remain below or would remain above 51%, because your 80 plus units added to their 600 plus or minus would not likely take that 65% below 51.
Mhm.
And we may be able to then roll these funds into the interconnect to make that a joint authority or combined authority or one authority under 2 names. I don't know that that's on the table. I don't know that that's even viable for 1,000 reasons. But if I don't exhaust every opportunity and lay them in front of you, I haven't done my job.
Yep.
So I just throw that out and suggest that it might be something that if the authority wants to consider, we could take back to DCED and look at a way to bring the 2 entities together with the CDBG funds to create an entity. And I understand you already have a joint sewer authority, or at least are communicating.
Well, it's a, what they call JOAC, is that what?
Joint operating,
It's-
okay.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
really a joint authority.
Okay.
Actually, that almost happened some years back. There was a proposal to form a joint authority, and for reasons I don't recall specifically now, it actually didn't happen. It had to do, I think, with Duncannon putting in a big new water plant, and that never actually happened, I don't think. But that's what I was going to ask. Would this have to be, do you think, a new joint authority, or do you think the authorities could stay separate and maybe have some contractual relationship that would?
I think you
Maybe
could,
that's something you could look.
yeah. I think you
find
could
out.
remain separate and have a contractual relationship. I think the key is that the improvements made in this system would need to benefit the users of the other system and vice versa. That's where we get, again, what DCED looks at is who are the beneficiaries of this investment. And if we can get greater than 51% low and moderate income persons benefiting. So if your water storage facility, for example, provided water storage and was interconnected with Duncannon, you would be serving the entire service area. So I think there are a number of legal ways that you could address that. Be it a joint authority, be it one authority selling services, be it a contractual relationship to share facilities. I think there's a lot of legal ways you could skin that cat. And we've not given this a lot of thought, and I don't know if you've given it any thought before 2 minutes ago, but, you know, I'm trying to exhaust every opportunity to keep $1 million in this community.
It's worth thinking about.
So we throw it out.
Bring you up to speed a little bit. We've lightly discussed what you're said about, and it never seemed to go anywhere. I mean, it was a very, very light option saying we're thinking about doing upgrades and everything else would be a benefit to connect a crossover line, et cetera, whatever you would want to entertain it to be called. And we've never got a very good response back from them. I'm not saying that that means no. I'm not saying that means yes, but it seems that somehow we ended up did get a joint sewer authority, but Duncannon still manages the treatment plant. Okay? I'm not sure how somebody would be more than willing to entertain because we would have our assets involved in this, where before Duncannon's assets, we just hooked into them. And they upgraded. You understand what I'm saying? This has had a little bit different structure. So I don't know what they would say in a proposed structure. I have no idea, but I know we've tossed it out there and we never got.
And I've been involved in some consolidations or regionalizations of water, fire companies, and sewer authorities over the years. And the devil's in the details. You know, there's a tremendous amount of assets and ownership and ownership of assets, because they're all different, that comes to bear in the process, and equity for users and your service, your clientele. So there's a whole range of issues that go with that, and I don't throw it on the table lightly because I have some of the scars from having worked with communities and doing that, and I know that it's a difficult situation and challenge, but I couldn't in clear conscience walk out of this room and not have thrown it on the table.
Understand. I mean, we already have certain entities of our township on Duncannon water system.
I understand that.
And
Because of the survey, I know that.
okay, that's the way it's set up. This just happens to be that it was a separate private system that we ended up picking up afterwards. So, okay, that's the only thing I can tell you in regards to it. Is anybody else on the authority?
Yeah, got a couple questions. With Duncannon's application, now, is that for this year? I mean, how would that affect our construction deadline and our usability of the money for this year?
I don't, and I'm going to be real honest, we've not thought through a lot of the details. But just sort of sitting here thinking it through, I don't see that Duncannon's application would necessarily delay yours. If, just carrying this out, if I were to walk into DCED tomorrow and say, here's an agreement, and Penn Township and Duncannon have agreed to interconnect their systems so that the standpipes and the distribution systems we're proposing to improve in Penn Township benefits the residents of Duncannon, and the combined LMI of the two communities is, I think DCED would give us a nod and tell us to proceed. Because given the meeting we had with DCED was one of the most positive, helpful culture meetings I've had in a long time. So I tend to think that that's what would happen. The Duncannon project, I'm going to be real honest, I've not been directly involved in the Duncannon application. Jamie Schroeder wrote that. I'm not even sure it's been submitted to DCED quite yet. It may have, it's within days. So I don't know a lot of details about that project, but I think the key is not the timeline of the projects. The key is the interconnection so that the customers share benefits.
Well, there is some history here. Some time ago, when
Usually
we
is.
had problems with Sunshine Hills Water, we went down to Duncannon, and Duncannon was not interested in and any interconnection unless Sunshine Hills was incorporated into Duncannon Borough. And it's no secret they don't want Sunshine Hills water because of the manganese problem. How about it, Sam? Go on. So the likelihood of this happening is not good, I don't think. But it's worth a try.
And there is always history. I've been around long enough to know that there is always history in these small community systems. As I said, I have some of the scars.
Did you ever think about giving these powers that be down there, taking a field trip up here and looking at this system as it exists?
It's not a lack of understanding of the need. The federal regulations dictate what they have to do to use the funds.
It's the paperwork side of it that causes
I
the
understand
issue.
that, and if you redid a survey up on that hill, it would fail also, again.
Yeah, and that's the dilemma. The dilemma is they're bound by, and quite frankly, being scrutinized pretty critically by HUD and the federal regulations. And you know, the law is the law is the law is in perspective, and that's why I say it was a very positive meeting, because we sat at that table with Donna and Tony and collectively brainstormed ways that we thought we could make this work. And they made a significant commitment to that effort, even to the point of continuing to do so after we left. So it's not for lack of appreciation and need.
Well, then I guess,
Anybody else have anything else to ask?
well, that,
Would it be worth our consideration next week? We have our JOAC meeting.
actually it's the 13th.
Oh, yeah, okay. The way
Way
the
the
month
month
falls.
falls,
Yeah. But when we have JOAC meeting on the 13th, could this at least be addressed at that point? I mean, our ultimate goal also is to get rid of the manganese. I mean, that's gonna be something that's treated with the new system.
Right.
The problem we have here is we cannot address that at the JOAC meeting. The JOAC is strictly the sewer only, so this needs to be addressed
that's
with our
true.
water authority.
Okay,
Which
because I
means
thought if we
our-
presented it to them and they take it back to their board,
No, they have nothing,
It can't be done
totally
that way.
separate entities, and their structure, operational structure is totally different than what ours is.
They have
up
two
here.
different
yeah, they have
authorities.
two
Yeah.
separate,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right, I didn't even
Yeah,
think
Yeah, we
about
kind
that.
of ran into that separation of powers issue before.
And the decisions are made by the authority, not by the council, by the council.
Right, council,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's more complicated than.
The borough overall has final say. The council has final say.
I'm confused by that. If it's an existing municipal authority, the
It's not
authority.
an existing municipal authority as such.
Oh,
They are a
committee of the
committee,
of the
basically.
council.
Basically.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, they have a lot of suggestions and input and say for the benefit of what we do together, and it goes back to the borough council, and most results are very positive, not negative. So their suggestions are used very valuably, you know what I'm saying? But the borough itself is the one that makes the financial decisions.
Okay.
They cannot do any financial deciding.
Right.
You know what
Okay,
I'm
so they
saying?
don't actually have a municipal authority for the water operations. I would think that there would be benefits to both entities to be interconnected, particularly given your geographic locations as it relates to one another.
It would.
And you could maintain billing districts so that you wouldn't necessarily have to see, you wouldn't have to absorb their costs or they absorb yours. You could maintain two separate billing districts that would not undermine the benefit for the two communities and the eligibility. Because we've done that in some other projects where we've done consolidations. So give it some thought. I know it's not an easy solution. I didn't put it out there thinking there was no history. But as I said, we've turned every stone, and I would be remiss to walk out and not have put this on the table.
Anything else for them?
Thank you for your effort, gentlemen.
Yes, thank
We
you
will
very
continue.
much.
And please keep us informed.
We will do that too.
If
Absolutely.
there's anything that comes up before the 13th, which is our JOAC meeting, please let us know.
Donna indicated she recognized the importance of the resolution. That's why we reached out today, because we thought we might actually have something tonight. We don't, but I think we will have something very shortly, and with your meeting being nearly 2 weeks away, I would expect we'd have information. So,
Okay, you can give us like a Friday afternoon update, if you hear anything, we'd be very appreciated.
you will know the same day we find anything
Good
out.
deal. Good deal, I like that.
So, any other questions?
Nope.
If not, we would ask to be excused.
You're
Thank you.
excused. Have a good evening.
Thanks for
Thanks.
coming.
Thanks, Andy.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Right now, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Done with visitors? Okay. Engineers report. Engineer's not here. 3 topics the engineer has on there. Pretty self-explanatory. One of them we just had a detailed discussion about. So really, the bids are remain open, JR. MW2's submittals are in the process of being submitted.
Really?
According to discussions.
Really?
And the flow analysis is still being analyzed with the meter being updated. So basically, the engineer's report's a fairly simple one.
Question on the MW2, is there any kind of timeline, deadline on getting these submittals?
There was a long time ago.
I mean, we've run
It's
through
over.
that how many times, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a latest deadline? I mean, how long are we gonna be,
How are you gonna impose
Strung
it?
along.
I mean, other than us make a decision,
Okay.
we enforce what we've already delayed for 30 days.
let me ask this question and I'll be anxious for an answer. Why did we ever institute Ordinance 101 if there's no way of enforcing it?
Oh, you can?
How? It's clearly not getting enforced.
Well, you can implement it, but once you implement it, then that drags out into the legal side of the system. And once it's in the legal side of the system, everything stops till it's resolved.
Well, yeah,
More or
and
less.
there's, well, of
And
course,
that
you
takes
have,
how long then?
you have the hearing process, you have the possibility of appeals, and what you end up with, if everything goes well, is a fine, which, of course, as we all know, doesn't necessarily get the result that we want, so.
Okay.
Let's put it this way, it has some limitations, unfortunately. And another possible approach is to go directly to, of course, Perry County Court and ask for injunctive relief. We did talk about that in respect to a different problem. That is another possible approach, or the DEP approach, but I guess they're not going to, it doesn't look like they're taking any independent action, at least not at this point, right? They're just asking for the status of it.
But my concern is that was created to force people to connect. I mean, the wording in that, more or less, if the service is provided to you, you must connect.
Yes.
I don't understand, you say about the appeal process for that. If you're not connected, I mean, how can you appeal something that you're guilty of that you're clearly not connected? I'm just so confused on this and why we can't act on this. I'm so frustrated by all of this. I just don't understand why, if that is in place, why that can't be enforced. And it seems like there's no meat behind this whole ordinance. What's the point? What's the point of having it?
The meat is really a fine.
Is there a penalty provision in it? I mean,
Yeah, it's a fine.
Fine.
Yeah. There's a possibility of incarceration if a fine is imposed and the party doesn't pay it.
Does the
and
township,
we can show that they had the means to pay it. There
does
is
the
a
township
bus-
supervisors impose the fine, or do we?
No, the district justice does.
It's part of the ordinance of the township.
The district justice imposes the fine as a result of, at the
As
end
a
of the
result of
hearing.
our going to the district justice or the
The
supervisors?
supervisors.
The supervisors go to
Right.
the district justice.
Now, they did delegate, when we were doing the project, I think the supervisors delegated those activities to the authority, that this is not really part of that the Perdix project. We did handle some of the connection hearings ourselves for individual connections back when the Perdix project was done. The township filed, it was still under the ordinance, it was a enforcement under the ordinance, but the township delegated to the authority taking over the hearing process, if you will.
Does that still stand then?
I don't think it does no, I think that was because we had a project. Now, that could happen. I mean, if we make that request, they may do that again. But I don't think it was an ongoing or a permanent kind of a process.
Is the correspondence here, did you see the letter that we had sent after last month and Helen's reply? A month or so ago, we were to write a letter to DEP and to the township asking them to shut it down or do whatever they can, and they did not, they are not following ordinance 101 because they seem to think that there's some movement going on since,
They made the mention last week at the meeting that apparently what they understood was that there was an agreement. And my reply to that was, if you can call a one-sided conversation an agreement. I think that's how I put it Wednesday night. I'm just really frustrated with the whole thing. It's like, why do we sit here and do anything? Nothing that we do can be enforced. It's like we're just chasing our tails.
Do we wish to proceed with what we decided we were gonna hold up on then and see where it goes? And then it could get drug out for another 6 months through the legal system, am I correct?
It could, sure, anytime you're in
I
the
mean,
legal arena.
that's as
it's-
close as you can get to seeing any activity out of this operation, I agree with that. But, they understand the structure very well too.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure.
certainly
I'm
when you're
not
the zoning officer and the SEO for the township, you ought to know what's going on, what the rules are.
I'm not sure what powers DEP has. I could try to talk to somebody over there. My guess is they have better powers than
They got
than
attorneys
we
sitting
do.
all over the freaking place
Right.
over there, doing
and
nothing.
They may be able to get, if they would do it, well, we were talking about just shutting down the project, right, their project. That would seem to be a possible option.
And the letter went to DEP
It did,
telling
yeah.
them
That's
that.
what I'm just looking at.
They've been kept abreast.
Yeah, they've been kept up to speed. I don't think I received this, I know I didn't receive a response to that. Whether anybody else did or not, I don't know.
But
I
you
doubt
did get a
it.
copy of you did get a copy of the letter.
Yeah, I actually wrote it,
No,
I think, didn't I?
no, this was the one from the township.
Yeah, but he wrote
No,
one
but I wrote
to
to
DEP.
DEP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just goes on and on.
I don't think DEP's helping us much either, because I think the new gal down that's handling this thing,
Wrigglesworth.
what's her name?
Wrigglesworth.
Yeah, that person.
They're the ones that come up here and stomp their feet, tell us you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and what have they done?
What's
To
her
help
name?
us.
I think probably on her calendar, about every 3 weeks, she looks at it and says, oh, I gotta do something with this. You know, they're not doing the thing. They could shut that down in a heartbeat if they wanted to.
supposedly, according to that last email that we got, that on Thursday, the 25th, just last Thursday, would be a week tomorrow, there's some items that still lag, but I'll let you know.
You know, that's been months, that's month after month after.
Copy and paste, copy and paste.
Yeah, from their engineer
Yes.
to Randy, or to, yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to DEP, see if I can have a conversation with one of their staff attorneys about?
I think we should.
I think Bill will fire on
I'd like
somebody's
to fire
butt.
somewhere, that's right. This is ridiculous.
I really think we should.
I don't see it doing any harm.
No.
No.
Maybe they'll actually go out and do something.
We're not gaining on it now, so.
Or on back,
Well,
our correspondence with DEP, the person now there.
yes, I could
Up
get.
front, and then to go from
That's
there
what
with
I'll
her.
do.
I think
Yeah, I
that
would
would
start
be
that.
the
I need a
best.
call.
I agree.
Don't go outside that parameter, give them up-to-date information, explain that they are,
Is there a possible political solution or not?
there's, now, the other question I have for you, here we are implementing ready-to-serve fees, okay?
Right.
Once they reach a certain point, what can we do?
They win.
Well,
Do we have any meat on that?
yeah, you could start the collection process for ready-to-serve fees, including moving forward with enforcement of liens and so forth, and a sheriff's sale. Now that of course also, Henry, as we've found from experience, can be
Long drag out too.
can be delayed and can be a long process, because
But I mean,
challenge to the lien, or challenge to the judgment, or challenge to the sale, or a bankruptcy, but that's another viable approach.
Yeah, Dennis, I think we ought to talk to DEP.
See if I can-
attorney, yeah,
see
get
if I can get
somebody to
somebody
do
to talk to.
something.
Right.
And if they won't do anything, then we're gonna have to, it is, Cece's right, it's outrageously ridiculous.
If this would be a homeowner, their house would have been sheriffed long ago. I'm tired of fooling around with
We can
this.
start filing that paperwork if we wish. That's another option, you can do two different ways at the same time, right?
Yep.
That's a very, very, very good direction we could be heading.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that. My ears are closed.
It would, the process of collection of the,
Oh,
Because
okay.
we're already,
Ready to
what,
serve
ready to
charge.
serve charges are what, for 3 months already?
3 months.
it's gotta be.
Yes, and
Three.
there's three of them, May, June, or April, May, and June, and I'm ready now to send out July's.
So we are already up to.
So it's
a-
1,800.
Yep, we're up high enough,
Yeah.
I think that would be something the board ought to consider.
Is he not shown on this, on the delinquent accounts? He's not shown on the delinquent accounts?
No, because
That's a ready to
Because
serve
it's a
thing.
that's a good point. They're really not a sewer customer yet.
Yeah, as far as how I mean, it really is, it's the equivalent of a usage charge, but we probably haven't geared up to stick.
I
We have
just-
so few of them, it's
I
probably
never,
only
well,
one.
that's the only one, and
Yeah.
I'd be honest with you, Karen and I did not even, that never even went in my head. All that's gonna do is make your total go up.
Well, I could certainly talk to her about getting me the information to put a lien on, though, if the board wishes to get that process, at least a starting point with a letter from me that, we'll be looking to enforce it.
Maybe that'll
I
give
don't-
them the push they need.
I don't see any harm in it.
Do it. I'll make that motion.
Second.
And we're moved and seconded.
All right, so the motion will include both, he's going to contact DEP attorneys and also start the ready
Yeah.
to serve, okay.
Collection
DEP's
process.
representative first is. who's
Yes,
gonna
I'll
contact.
talk, yeah, definitely.
First,
First,
DEP,
yes.
okay.
Okay, he's gonna get through the representative first,
Okay, I thought this was going to be concurrent, all right.
okay?
No,
And
I'm not-
then,
yeah, I'm not
then the
gonna
other
have
one,
it from her. It's- Start the collection process.
yes, and he's gonna start the collection process.
I'll talk to Karen about that, too.
Okay. All right, then moved and seconded. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything else on the engineer's report? Operators report. I know the operator ain't here. Is there anything that the field representative would like to say? And do you have any issues?
Yes, this past month, or this June, we flushed the water systems in Sunshine Hill. It took us an extremely long time to get clean water. I think we were late on our flushings, previous flushings, and it took a while. It took a while to get everything cleaned up, but I think we should be all right now.
Anybody doubts that we don't need, we need manganese treatment up there, all they had to do is see it.
It's the worst I've seen in a long time.
Hey, just look in your coffee cup. Serious.
Oh my gosh.
I sat out there with him while he did it in front of my house.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Huh?
What happened? What's
The
it?
color of the water coming in, and blow off, look in your coffee cup.
Wow.
Before you put the cream in. That's all I can recall from the operator. I don't think he has anything else.
Okay. Anything?
Oh, yeah, he did. He bought some V-belts for the blowers at the code plant. We're gonna get those. And that's another thing too. We have to get together and we gotta increase the size of those blowers at King Cora. We've been talking about doing that for 2 years and we have not yet done it, and it needs to get done.
I thought we handled that at the last meeting, didn't we?
Well, it seems that the operator has not got together with
Oh.
me in regards to that,
Oh.
and we need to pick that up.
He was gonna get estimates for the blower and motor and cost of installation.
Okay, anything else underneath the operator? How about the field representative?
I already mentioned the Sunshine Hill water flushing. Requested the executive secretary to send out grease trap inspection notifications for the weeks of July 20th and 27th. All right. And just this past week, we cleaned out one wet well and flushed sewer mains on Ashmore, St. John's, and Susquehanna Hill Road. And we also cleaned out 3 wet wells in the Duncannon collection system.
Everything looked pretty decent?
Yeah, pretty much. We did find 2 broken clean-out lids on Ashmore Drive, and I asked Karen to send the property owner a letter and ask him to reinstall them. And
You're talking about this plastic cap sticking out of the ground?
yeah, they were mowed off. You should hear them howl whenever the jet blower goes.
Is that
through
how you
there.
found them?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're whistling something fierce. And I got something here that is not on the list. Just the last 2 days, we spent down at 108 Firehouse Road. That would be Mrs. Grace Gallagher. We had a broken check valve down there, and this is it in front of me. If you're going to look at it and you want to pick it up with a napkin or something, because I did not clean it off. Inside this check valve, there's plastic and stuff that came from this cheap rinky-dink fitting that we paid buku bucks for during the contract construction to put in down there, and this is probably the 12th or 13th one that's failed. So, and along with that, we had a minor sludge spill down there on top of the ground. We called and let DEP know what happened. Now, we, meaning your field operator, our field representative needs to write a letter to DEP explaining what happened, what the cause was, and how we plan on keeping it from happening again. Now, I was down today, looked around the area, and the area that we worked in is rough. And if it'd be my yard, I'd be raising cane with it. So I'm gonna ask you guys if you have a problem with me calling Blanker back and asking him to rake and seed that yard for, because we did tear it up.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. That's all I have.
I don't know how you're gonna keep stuff from getting tore up the way it's wet with salt and everything.
Ooh, it's horrible. And there was a lot of groundwater coming down there too. It was nasty working in that. And when it's down at the foot of that mountain, and there is water that comes off of that mountain like you would not believe.
Yes, I would.
Mhm.
My basement will tell you so.
The check valve itself, though, did really fail. It was obstructed.
Well, you can look at it, and yeah, the check valve itself is good, but there's a piece of plastic in there holding the flapper, and the piece of plastic is blue plastic that came from this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how it got in there, I'll not be able to tell you. I didn't tear it apart, but it's not right, and there's a good possibility we're going to end up seeing more of them.
Anything else for the field representative? Okay, master meters report.
Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Penn Township Supervisor's report. We don't have one of them either. Okay, you're up, Dennis.
All right, not much to report. The sale cases we had on the list for July are now all postponed. The one, of course, is the matter in litigation that there are a number of motions pending before Judge Mumma, so he needs to address those before we'd be in a position to conduct the sale. The next sale date is October, late October. The cutoff to get on the next sale date is about 5 weeks away. It's in August. So any that we have that should be going that route, I will make sure are filed by that cutoff, so we're eligible, so to speak, to have them entertained at the sale in October. There will be a few, and hopefully a couple that have been on that we can get to ahead. I think Smith, I believe that was sold. And I need to find out, not at a sheriff's sale, but at a, they call it a federal marshal's sale. So I need to follow up with that. I think Karen is the one that told me that.
Who's that?
That Smith, the
1109.
1109. I will get you something by email. I think it was sold.
Yes.
Now, whether, how quickly, they'll be out and all these other issues will be cleared up is another matter. Just because the property is sold doesn't mean the occupant, is out quickly. Nobody can just walk in and say, you're gone now. That it takes a whole other and additional judicial process to get the actual eviction to occur. But it's movement in the right direction. think that's about all I have for now.
Question for you. When you got the liens in place,
Yes, sir.
okay? What occurs in regards to that? We file a lien against it, and if they continue not to make payments, then what happens?
Then we enforce the lien by requesting that the property be sold at a sheriff's sale. In other words, there's two ways the authority can proceed on the delinquent accounts. You can file suit in the normal process, which is typically, because of the amounts, would be at a district justice office. Although it doesn't have to be, it could be in county court, but you sue under a contract theory because service has been rendered and payment hasn't been made. For that, you get a judgment, and then you can execute or enforce that judgment by selling property, personal property and or real estate. The lien cuts through a little bit of that because you can unilaterally file a lien and you can enforce the lien directly. Okay. Now the debtor can slow that process. There's a way that could be done, but it's both ways of
The legal
proceeding.
system even slows this up.
Yeah, both
You
ways.
understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean, there's
absolutely.
nothing, this is the kind of way I was trying to
Either way of
explain it.
proceeding has its pros and cons, let's say it that way. But you've seen what happens. You enforce the lien, you schedule a sale. We have 5 or 6 properties in bankruptcy now because that brings the whole process to a screeching halt. Typically, that doesn't happen until right up the day of the sale or a couple days before. Or there's challenges that can be filed to the sale by petition to the court. So
Okay,
it's,
I'm going to give you an example here.
Okay.
Example of 907. I mean, that's up there high enough now. The liens ain't working.
yeah.
What's
That's
happening?
That's one I need to get in. I'll get that started for the
Man,
October.
do we- don't we-
He's incarcerated.
Okay, well,
Oh,
Is he? Okay, I know that his mail comes back and they won't give us a forwarding address, but I know he had been and then he was out. Okay.
Well-
That would explain why there's no forwarding address.
yeah, that could also be, that could slow us down, but it wouldn't slow down the actual starting of the process.
but didn't we put a price limit of 800 or something on
We
that?
did.
I don't know,
Some
we
of the-
follow on that.
Well, I communicate with Karen about it. Some people that are making an effort to pay or have payment agreements may have balances that are over that, but they're not, we don't proceed because they're making an effort. So Karen and I try to stay in communication about which ones.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that there are far and few and in between,
Well, there aren't many, right.
okay, what I'm trying to say is
I need to keep a better eye on
we
it.
need to
because
be
they
better,
climb.
we need to be more diligent on this. I see things just from quick glances here that are not satisfactory to what we've been doing, just like number 51.
Yeah, quite a few
Now,
have.
number 51 should be another one, as far as I'm concerned.
We
That's
need to-
been habitual.
Way too long.
Okay.
Way too high, okay? We need to be focusing on this, and we need to take this to the next step.
Yeah, he's bumped up over our
Okay.
threshold, you're right.
We need to stay on top of this threshold.
Now, with that one above there, 43, now have things been settled there with the sheriff's sale question mark? Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's a possibility. There's an estate created there.
Right, and I didn't know if that had been taken care of.
No, it hasn't. I don't know if that property's it's not worth much.
Yeah.
So we're
Good
probably,
exercise for the fire company.
that's gonna end up being like a couple of ones that we've done, but
I mean, I
What?
mean, we need to push this a little bit more and see if we can't reduce some of
get
it.
some of these reduced. Let me get a hold, we need a better system. I need to,
Okay?
yes, keep a
Work
better
with
eye
Karen on
on
this and tighten this up, Dennis.
when we hit the magic number, which I forget what it is now. Is it
850.
850 that we just moved.
I'm looking at two of them here, and the two that's in bold. That's over $30,000. Is there any way that the municipal authority can stop or
I can
that
file,
from growing? You know what I mean?
I can file a petition.
There's got to be some place along the way where there's a theft of services or something.
Well, they're supposed to be paying the post bankruptcy filing date charges. They did 1 month and then stopped again. I let their bankruptcy attorney know that. She was gonna check and see what's going on and get back to me, and of course that, I haven't heard from her. I may need to petition the bankruptcy court about allowing us to move forward.
I mean,
which
something's
I'm-
gotta happen
which I'm
there.
willing to do. Yeah, that's a big number. That's a third of it.
No way we
I
can
know
shut
we-
that off.
I was asking that question, you know, about a couple months ago, whether we could do that.
Well, I think you can on any transfers or new, units coming into the property, but that's only gonna be of limited help to us.
I think there's only 5 units up there, or 5 lots, vacant lots that he can put units on.
Extend that as hand.
I think, I'd seen that, well, I actually read last month's sheet on delinquents, and the one Sam's talking about. I think the borough of Duncannon, on rentals, if you're talking about the mobile home court, the borough of Duncannon, if you have a rental property, the owner of the rental property has to pay the sewer, the water, and the garbage. We can't do that in this township?
They do.
That's
Yeah,
what
they
that's
do.
what we're trying to
You do?
do, but they,
Yeah.
That's not, yeah. I bill the owner.
Go
Yeah.
yeah, we don't build a tenant.
Can't bill a tenant. Okay. So then, as Sam was saying, in other words, you just can't go up and shut off a big valve to that
Well, the-
court and just say, I know you got tenants in there.
You can terminate water service. The problem with this one in particular is once the bankruptcy proceeding is filed, then any collection effort has to stop, and you can't do anything except with permission of the bankruptcy court. And that's
Our
always,
hands are tied. You understand
always-
where we're at with this?
that's always been the case, because the bankruptcy court doesn't want, they're not in the business of seeing that one creditor is favored over another, if you
Right,
follow me.
right.
So they monitor extremely carefully any kind of collection activity that happens. But that may be what I need to do, is get in there and at least start fussing and see what we can do.
We
See,
did a
and
few.
to do what you and I were both suggesting now, that's coming back and saying, okay, if I got 10 tenants and all 10 tenants are dutifully paying their lot rental,
Right.
and you being the owner are not paying, now I'm gonna shut it off, and these guys are all paid up front, and they're being punished for something that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Not
That's-
right.
that's-
That's
that's-
not right either.
No, and that's
No,
what's
I wonder
put me
whether
in the
I could
position where I'm
set
sitting here, you know, is what can we do? Because you don't want to do that.
I actually read that
Well, some
sheet,
of
that's
those
like,
probably
oh
pay it.
my God.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already had them to a point where there's certain ones, as it goes along here, you have a pretty good idea bankruptcy's coming next, okay? We've been, I think, very fair to everybody and tried to keep them. We've had some people come in here that were really high. We got them up against the wall, got them tight, and they paid it off. And then a year, 2 years later, they show back up one here. You know what I'm saying? There's one on there now from years, clean them up and then turns around and shows back up. Sometimes they're on both sides, other times they're on one side. But it's
It's a chronic problem.
It's yeah, it is. It is a chronic problem. I mean, sometimes they're just over and they miss it, and you can see those people. They pay it back, and it's honest and taken care of, But you're looking at, we don't pursue anything until we have 3 months in error. I mean, and we shorten that every time we get a chance too. We've rolled that back considerably. And it seems the longer this system has been implemented and running, the higher our debt structure's been getting. I mean, we keep trying to tighten it up, and it just seems to be growing. And we can't. We're not the only entity that does that. If you read in the papers, you'll see stuff from down the bigger cities, stuff, some of them's got stuff that's astronomical. But I mean, it would be a big benefit if we could eliminate some of this and have a steady income off of it. It would definitely help the overall. I mean, it's not helping the normal ratepayers. It's not, and it's not fair to them.
It's a 90-10 rule. 90% of your problems come from 10% of your people.
And it's,
You know, when you're looking at over $100,000 due us, you know, that would sure help put a new water system up on the hill.
Got that right.
or it would make us work our budget a little bit differently, and it would show you a little bit better revenue on our books. You know what I'm saying? It would give you things that would. I mean, even the water. I mean, the amount of water that's delinquent for the amount of people we have on services is unbelievable.
It's never gonna be a zero, but it sure is painful when it's, numbers like this, particularly on a small cell.
It would be
I'm
nice to
looking
have
at a bank here that's in arrears,
Yeah.
$1,284.
That's
A
pretty-
bank,
That's pretty
huh?
sad.
Yeah, they foreclosed, took the property at the sale, and then they aren't paying either. I don't know if is there a for sale sign on that property?
Not that I've
They
seen.
typically do, the banks typically. In fact, often the banks pay even before a foreclosure if they're sensing that one's coming, because they don't want that to happen.
Well, it's New York now. You gotta.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck is it? 953. Holding for clarification. I remember that, I know what that conversation was about, but are we still waiting?
I think, do you remember, Susan, on that one, did we get the rest of the money? We had all but
I thought we had it all now.
$80, I did too.
That was in last month's minutes.
I thought we had gotten the rest of that, I'll check with Karen.
That was in the minutes from last month.
The ones we approved tonight or the one before?
I thought it was the one we approved tonight, but I might be wrong.
I think it was the one before.
Maybe it was the one before.
I'll get to it. I thought that check had been deposited.
No, it's right there. It's on the solicitor's report. The tenant is paying the delinquent balance of $180, but has not yet paid in full, and that was the agreement. That needed to be settled before anything else was done. And then there's the additional $795 for the lien renewal fee. Okay? That's in our minutes.
Is that the minutes for the last meeting?
Minutes for last meeting, yes.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Okay? Solicitor will contact Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I think I did write
You probably should
I'll
have.
follow up with it. I'll shoot you an email.
Give us a status on that. I mean, that's an ongoing one there.
Yes. Yeah, and it was.
We need to stay on top of that 850, Dennis.
Okay.
Okay? We need to stick to our guns a little bit more on that. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we
Go
do the
ahead
same
and-
thing with the 180s. Go ahead.
I go ahead
Move
and
with
do
them.
it, I don't need to get approval, no
I
nothing,
don't-
just when it hits that, move. Okay.
Or
Not that we already have it. Whenever it hits 800, you do.
You implement it. Go with it. Don't. Okay?
All right,
Keep moving with it. We gotta keep one of these things. If we implement the way we're running here, by the end of a year, you should be able to have all the paperwork filed to the proper criterias.
right.
Actually, it's a year and 3 months because you start 3 months in delinquent and get moving. But you would actually have 12, if nobody does anything for 12 months, we should be at that point of a sheriff's sale.
you know, 103's over that threshold too.
I think you'll
Yes.
find that's the way we structured this, that if they go 3 months delinquent, from that point on, if they do nothing, 12 months later, we have it on a sheriff's sale.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I don't know how much more nicer you can be. You know what I'm saying? Till you get 15 months worth of services, and if you're not willing to pay for any of them, you know what I'm saying? Am I correct? That's pretty close to the numbers right
Yes,
there.
it is.
Okay?
Then in this area.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did see
So
that.
we need to pursue
I
that.
was just looking at it and saying, holy shit.
I mean, it wouldn't take long for that to easily go to 18 months, a year and a half down the road before you even have anything settled out on them. But some of these should be going. Okay?
Yeah,
We need to stay aggressive on this.
Karen, and get a little better scheduling system.
Okay?
All right.
I just wonder how damn long.
Anything else for you, Dennis?
I don't think so.
Anything else for the solicitor?
You.
Okay, how about the treasurer's report?
There are a number of bills to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They send them because they're allowed to.
That makes a lot of
You know,
sense.
they can get more revenue. That's that thing they started 2 years ago where they can, these are all the operator permits. Okay? Just
Yep.
because we have an operator, we pay for that. Now, the next round will be because we have the water and the sewer plants, and there'll be a fee for those. So, other than that, your bills are cheaper than they've been for a very, very long time.
They're what?
Cheaper. That's a small, 48,000.
Oh.
That's
a low one.
That's a low figure.
I'll make a motion, the orders be drawn, the bills be paid.
I'll second that.
And regularly moved and seconded, pay the bills. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pay the bills.
As far as the financial report, the good news is that you brought in $2,500 more than you spent.
Well, that's
I'll
good.
find out hard to believe.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep. The revenue's down. Used to be about 53 a month, but
But our delinquency revenue's going up.
I know. I know.
On the negative side.
I understand. You're down to 78,000 on the back page. This is now on the right side where it says earmarked. You have 78,000 that's still set aside for your water system, and on the bottom, on the left hand side under project reserves where it says available in bold, $147,807. So a little over 200,000 for your water system.
I mean, it depends on where this whole project's going with Cedar here. I don't see the whole thing coming to fruition anymore. I see, if anything comes, I see the water up top.
Yeah. But that was 750.
Yes. Plus a little bit, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
And I'm thinking we may have to even scale that down.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know how you're gonna scale it down.
Well, people can't afford to pay the water bills. They're just not the customers up there to pay that kind of money.
I mean, that's gonna be the issue. I mean, either you accept, it depends on how much they give us. I mean, that's the big number, okay? If you can come up with 500, which I doubt they'll give us.
If
and
we
take-
scale it down to a building,
And
tanks, and treatment, that's,
We got the pumps and everything put in. You can't build the system without complete. It's either gonna be built or not built.
well, maybe.
Because the frequency drive pumps and stuff are all added in after the fact. It's a 2-pump system. One to the tank and one after the tank. I mean, that's the sad part about that. You cannot roll that, you can't build part of that project or even 2/3 of it without, because it's not gonna work. That's the bad part about it. It is a non-pressurized tank system that you're gonna pull out of. And put booster pumps on to shove it through the system. The only other way you could do it is to go with a pressurized tank system to make our system, and that's not a practical way. So it's,
We'll see.
but the biggest thing is how much money they can still keep sending towards us to make this occur.
Not gonna know that for a while though.
Well, you're gonna know within next 45 days. You know, by next meeting, it's gonna be pretty much, if we don't know it by then, I'll miss my guess. And that's gonna be the tough part of it, you know? So,
Would it be really, really out of the question for somebody to approach Duncannon Borough Council about all of this? I mean, yeah, I understand the history that's there, but sometimes you just need to shut that door and,
Open the new one.
yeah.
I don't know how many council members were left from the former,
Regime.
regime, yeah. You said it, I did.
In regards to what you're talking about, you're talking about when they were putting the Xeon system in and all that stuff.
You know, Henry,
I think
it's been a long time.
I think you're gonna find there's been a lot of changes, a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I mean, the idea is it practical for them to entertain the idea? And to a point it is. The same atmosphere is once you do that, then we end up losing the possibility of having capacity for possible expansion. Because you'd probably giving that
Well,
up
that's another
to,
issue.
you'd be giving that benefit up to their benefit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we might have some, but we're gonna have very limited extra capacity to it. Am I right, Elmer?
Well, I don't know. It
If you would
depends.
go to a joint process, that's damn good, it becomes shared water.
That's
you
another
know.
issue. That's another issue.
I mean, so the benefits then benefit the immediate process, does not benefit the future to that level.
Well, we also ought to talk to the developer before we do anything. See what his opinion is.
Yanks?
Yeah, if he's even around.
I wouldn't count on him for.
Well, I'm not counting on anybody. I just said we ought to talk to them.
Yeah.
Find out what their plans are.
Yeah, he's busy in Marysville right now. He's got houses.
So
going
they
up.
say.
Oh, he's got houses going.
Did you see that new house on the top of the mountain?
That's not his.
Yeah, that's an abomination of that mountain, I'm telling you. That person ought to be shot. I mean, that's like taking the rest of your hair off your head, Sam.
That's in Cumberland County.
I don't care. It's that, whoever approved that up there ought to be shot.
Well,
It's
anyway.
bad enough they got homes along the side of the mountain. Now they got one sitting up there.
All right,
Anyway.
we need to approve the financial report yet, right?
Motion to approve the finance report subject to audit.
Second.
Been regularly moved and seconded to approve the financial report, subject to audit. All those in favor, give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
For the minutes, are you going to take make any kind of consensus on Cece's suggestion to approach the borough?
No, I don't know at this time.
Well-
We need to.
I would like to, let's go back to old business. When we get to
Okay.
old business, we can address that. I have something that needs to be addressed there anyhow.
Okay.
Executive Secretary's report,
I don't believe there is one.
okay? Next JOAC meeting is July 3rd, 6:30 at
13.
13th, I'm sorry. At the borough office. Okay. Incoming, outgoing correspondences. Not a whole lot there, everybody sold the others. Periodicals, okay. Now, let's go through old business. I'll bring up old business first. On the 20th, if I'm not mistaken, we went for a tour of the treatment plant. Sorry nobody could make it.
I got it at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm the
Very,
one that-
very, 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 very interesting. I think it was very valuable for us.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Some concerns that we had in regards to,
I don't necessarily want to do that.
have some concerns there in regards to that and everything else. With that being said, I gotta find out when the borough holds their meeting. Unless there's an objection, I'd like to go and express our concerns in regards to things not being fully completed, and the maintenance program that's going on there. We're going to have to be, how can I say?
Tread lightly.
We're going to have to be very tactful about how we address this. You know what I'm saying? It was very valuable for us, but we pay, so we should be able to voice our opinion a little bit. Okay.
Now, are these the items that we've seen month by month by month on that report at
Some
JOAC
of
meeting?
them just never did get done, and
Okay.
okay. I mean, we had a whole tour of the plant. Okay, air conditioning's defaulted. Not to say that that's one of the more important things around there, but you know, it does make a difference when you're inside there trying to do your processes. Okay, there's some other things that have long-term values in them. Some other things, when they fix something, they fix just the problem instead of something that's right beside it can be addressed all at the same time. So you end up going back 6 months, a year later, tearing everything apart to fix the next step. Why not fix it up front? You're in there and you're done, okay? Just small stuff.
Yeah, a lot of
Nothing-
band-aiding going on.
Yeah, you fix it now and you know you're going to end up going back in right beside it and fixing the next part of it. It's a concern that, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but I think financially it's better to do it all at one time. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got bold tires in your car, you don't replace one now and run till the other one's almost flat or does go blow out, and then you put the other one on, you keep fixing them, you put them all on. You know, there's a, you know, I don't know where the answer is, but then there's some fans and switches and stuff that are not 100% hooked up and complete yet. Some small things in there that I think the operator should be directed to complete. He didn't really have his fingers in some of them.
Right.
But he's only directed to do what he's only told to do what he's being told to do. You know, he doesn't, you know, and some of that stuff gets contracted out. That's a decision that needs to be made too. So, the discussions that it's 100% the operator are not, in my opinion, I don't know what Jim's is, I do not believe it's 100% one-sided. I think it's a little bit of both sides down there at the present moment. You know, I think there's a little bit of communication problems, and I don't know what, I mean, it's going to be something then that needs to be addressed delicately. But I don't know, without upsetting the apple cart, but I think as far as the authorities is concerned, I think it needs to be addressed, don't you, Jim?
Oh, yeah. There's a piece of equipment there they keep fixing, and they keep fixing it, and they keep fixing it. And I said to them, I said, well, why don't you bring the manufacturer's engineer in here and go over this thing and see what their recommendation is? Well, that's a good idea. Well, hello.
Why didn't they
So,
think of it?
you know, whether or not that'll be carried through, that's just one. I mean,
But they're the operator.
Yeah.
They don't own the plant.
right.
So
They
can't
have to
do
get
that without
clearance to
being
do
told.
everything,
They've got-
okay?
They go to their authority, which goes to the council. If I got the
Well, I don't even think the authority talks to the operator.
Well, they may not.
I think the operator goes directly to the borough itself. So, unless somebody has an objection, I would like to see if I can't figure out which, I think it's probably third Wednesday, fourth Wednesday, I forget when it is. I'll have to see if I can't find out. But I'd like to go and try to be as
Gentle as possible.
you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
while you're there, why don't you float the balloon past them about an interconnect for that?
That's what I'm getting at. That was the next part of this. You know, I could ask about the interconnect with the water system. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can tell them what our problem is and see if they want to help.
Well, and it may be helpful too. I mean, if
I
they
mean-
seem even semi
I mean, it may be a benefit for both sides of the community, you know,
I
let's
can
face
see
it, it gives them another
There's
place
no
to
doubt
water.
about it being a benefit for both sides. It will be a benefit for both.
I mean, it's gonna give water pressure differently at the upper end of town. It's gonna change the whole operation from basically the dairy bar up. Because you're gonna hook up somewhere on Lincoln Street,
Oh, yeah.
okay? And it's gonna end up, it will be a benefit for Petersburg. That would change that whole structure down there.
But make sure they understand we're gonna treat the water.
Right, and that would probably be one of our main selling points with that whole thing.
So, I mean, that's something that I can bring up too, you know? I mean, it's just, this is one of the things.
And I'm sure these gentlemen tonight would be glad to sit down if they were at all agreeable to it. You know.
They seem to be on our side.
Well, I believe they're on our side, it's just that they don't hold the
They don't hold the purse strings.
purse strings,
I
that's right.
understand that, yeah, I understand that.
And I understand the legalities of stretching the rules too far, and then you end up coming back and we end up paying it out later on after it's already built. We can't afford to do
We
that.
can't afford to do that.
So it needs to be right up front.
The first time.
And he did mention that previously, that that's the other options when they find out there's a faulty protocol in operation, it goes back and goes against them.
Right.
Now,
Right. Yeah, we don't want that.
no.
No way.
In the very beginning, months or years ago, they said that they don't get paid unless we get our
That
money.
is correct. All right, so I'll try to see if I can't make it to this month's meeting, okay?
Borough meeting you're talking about.
Borough meeting, yes, okay? Now, the other thing is the Smith property update.
I guess I covered that as
You more or less
best I know,
covered it.
and I will look into what happened there and get you some info.
Okay, and Berry County Beer Distributor,
There's a letter
Excuse me.
in there. Go ahead.
Okay, backing up to the first one there with the Smiths.
yep,
Has that problem been resolved with the neighbor, with the downstream neighbor? I mean, I'm just asking, they haven't been here, we haven't,
They haven't been here, they haven't said anything to me, and last time I was down there, I did mention it to Mr. and Mrs.,
Rice.
yeah,
Right.
that we're here.
Rice, yeah, and they didn't commit one way or another, but
Well, you were able to confirm that.
I was
the
able to
grinder
confirm
pump
that the
system
grinder
is
pumping system was
operating.
in operation, and the water that was coming out, in my opinion at that time, was groundwater. Now, to answer your question,
I'm not even sure anybody's living there.
Or not.
I'm not sure anybody's living there anymore.
Where, Smith's?
Yeah.
There were 2 vehicles there on at least Friday.
Yeah?
All right. The same view, okay.
'Cause I didn't see them the other day when I came up the road.
And the only reason I asked that question, I happened to see the races Friday afternoon and was told that that's still an ongoing problem. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure the tank ain't covered up. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's gonna be, that's,
and with the rain that we've had,
now, right. I mean, that's,
That-
the I&I of just the surface water going into that's
Mhm.
an issue there. I mean,
Right.
now, the question I have, we already went to the district justice on him,
Yes,
and he's been fined,
yes.
and he's been directed to correct it.
Yeah, he's, that's right, he was fined.
And he did not show up to court that day, so.
It may very well now be the bank's problem if they acquired that property. That's another thing I'll follow up on. And they're well aware that there's gonna be some things that'll need to be addressed on the property. I made their attorney aware of that. All this ongoing commotion with the odor and discharge issues.
The bank
septic
did
tank.
take over the
I'm
property.
pretty sure they did, Albert.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna double check it and get an email out to you.
Yes, please do that. Let us know where that's at, so we did promise these people that we would try to keep them abreast as much as possible. They've been very,
Yes, they're
They're entitled to
diligent coming in. Yeah, it was a different kind of sale. It was not one of the typical sheriff's sale list, so that's why I didn't have it in my diary, but I will check it.
okay. Next one is beer connection. Did we send a letter out to Norfolk Southern for that?
There's a letter
I
in
think
here
that
from the-
Helen was
there's a letter in there from the
instructed to.
township.
Yeah, there's a letter.
Yeah, there's a letter in there.
I read it, they did.
Okay.
Township sent out.
New business, 2015 grant application. I'm afraid to fill one out till we get the other one resolved.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, I don't think we should.
We already know we're not qualified.
We're not qualified, there's no sense in it.
We already know what the survey's gonna be. So,
No sense in it.
okay, electrical provider.
Yes, our contracts are going to expire at the end of the year. And I have been in touch with a broker who,
Well, that is a typo then,
Oh,
because it says
Well-
14.
yeah, that is definitely a typo. It expires at the end of this year. And she's suggesting that she got me all the figures for today, because she said every month things are going up. Currently, we're paying 10.10, so what would that be? 10 cents? You know, when it says,
Need to sign?
oh, it's on one of these
Oh.
pages.
We both finished that.
The amount that you can use to compare. Yeah, the price to compare for your rate is .10. Anyway, she has, there's two of them because one of them is for the Cove plant. 24 months at .0756
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's
and
pretty good.
36 months at .050.
That's pretty good.
Okay?
.050.
Yes,
Yeah.
7.5 cents. 7.5 cents a kilowatt.
And I'm sorry, Susan, what was the 24-month?
.0756.
Okay, thank you.
Now that's for the ones that started in December. The January ones, and I think that is the bulk of them. This is for your Cove plant, this cheaper
None
one
of them are
here.
variable rates, right?
No, these are fixed rates.
Fixed rates.
The one for 7 of your accounts or 8 of your accounts would be 24 months at .0804. And 30 months is 0799.
The cheapest one.
Well, 30 months is obviously the way to go. Or well, she wrote 30 months here. I think she means 36, and I'll get back to her on that. But
3 years.
yeah,
3 years, pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I was gonna say, I've been looking at that, I gotta do something on my plate.
now I don't know who this is from because she's a broker and she has 30 of them. She has 30 companies that she represents, and she said it could be somebody that you don't know, but we will back them.
Just so they're not variable rates, that's all.
Yeah, that's the kicker. It's gotta be a fixed rate.
No, it is a fixed rate. I already discussed that with her. So what I would need is just, because she said each month they're going up. She can see that.
Yeah, they are.
And she suggested that, you take some type of action,
Okay, what, do we wish to take the lowest
Pick the cheapest
fixed,
one.
lowest
Why not?
fixed price? Is that how we're gonna
Yeah.
operate underneath that? Do I hear a motion in regards to that?
I'll make a motion.
for the 36 months for both of them. Because the reason that there's two is one's for the Cove plant. And that's on its own kind of because it uses so much electricity. It's on its own commercial. It's a commercial 3.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second that.
It's been regularly moved and seconded. All those, any discussion? All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll give her a call.
Okay, notification of sewer
just-
line flushing.
Just to give you an
We're
up.
kinda late for that.
One second. Just to give you an update, this other one has never gone away. I thought it did. Remember I screwed up a couple years ago? Well, they used to send us a bill for $1,800 a month. Every month they'd send us a bill, and then it just stopped. And then I got a text this month saying, or an email, just, we want you to know that you've got an outstanding balance of $1,589. Please see the attached invoice and advise when payment can be expected. Their collection officer.
Didn't I write to him and tell him?
Yes, you did, and then we wrote them another one, and we wrote them another one, and,
Would you like to take care of that, Dennis?
I certainly can.
all right, I'll give you this. This is that business where we don't feel it's illegal, you know, we canceled it before we even started using it. It was for Champion.
Yeah.
And that's because of these folks. I'll tell you what, I have written down that I'm only going to talk to this lady ever, because I'm going to be getting lots of calls, and they'll tell you all kinds of slick stuff.
They will.
And, you know,
They
they
lie.
get me so confused. This lady spent 45 minutes one day with me just going over it piece by piece until I understood what she was saying. You know? So, I was very appreciative of her. I will say that. She did a nice job. Okay.
Okay, notification for sewer line flushings.
All right, do you know why? Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
All right. A lady came into the office the other day. Her name by Betty Albright is her name. She lives up on Susquehanna Hills. Nice lady.
Yeah.
Except she was a little upset. She was upset because when she came home or came in the house after it was flushed, there was no water in her commode, and then there were very loud noises. So she said something to her son-in-law who works for Bloomfield Borough, and he said, well, didn't you get some kind of notification? And she said, I don't. You know, I never got a notification. And he said, well, we always inform our people when we're flushing the sewer lines. So she went out, I guess, and flagged down the flusher. And he said, well, it was supposed to make that noise. And, you know, that was good. And everything, that just showed that everything was working well. But when she came into care, and she was a little hot, she came in to pay her bill. But Karen said when she left she was laughing, so she was all right. But I just wondered, Karen and I discussed, we send out notifications for water flushing. Should we send out for sewer line flushings? Now, I don't know that we've ever had a comment before. I don't know whether the borough even flushes sewer lines. I've never noticed anything in my
You can
house.
put a notice in the billing. Can you do that?
I could if I knew ahead of time, and I usually do. It's usually about a month's notice.
Yeah, that'd be the simplest way. That covers the whole complex.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
I mean, for you to sit there and say you're going to just pick these people because this is the zone we're doing is
Well,
gonna
that can be done. Seriously, I mean, our notification system is broken down by people with just grinder pumps, people that are just on this plant, people that are on that plant, people that are on this plant. There's like 6 different regions we've got it broken down. So if Sam said he was flushing Susquehanna Hills, they might be on with Perdix. Yeah. Well, that's all right. They all get the notice, and then, you know, what the heck.
Now, would you do that on a call, or would you do that on?
Yeah, you can do that with SwiftReach.
You know, it'd be just as easy to do it with SwiftReach and phone, be done with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just like you do the flushing for the, yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that, and that might be a good thing to do.
It's just,
Not
you
gonna
know,
hurt.
it's only, you know, it costs us $5, I think, when we notify the water company people. So this would be $25.
That lady,
Or-
she lost her husband within the last
Yes.
year, and he's very knowledgeable of that since he worked for Rob Supply all his life, and he would have a plumbing background and wouldn't get excited about it.
Well, her son-
she's 100% in charge of it, so.
Her son-in-law works for the
Yes,
boroughs,
yep.
Bloomfield,
Yep,
so.
he does. Yep.
In fact, Karen did not realize her daughter-in-law is Brenda Albright up at the Pathonetary's office. All right.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with giving notifications out for that.
I mean, it's not, it only happens once a year or whatever
Right.
our cycle is, so.
All right, number 4. 1115
Okay.
State Road.
All right, you remember Mr. Jacobs had passed away, and then I don't know where he lives down there, but then there were 3 daughters that took over. We gave them the abatement for the year.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever gone into the house. The one sister refuses to sell it, and they're getting tired of paying the $60. So they wanted to know how they could get out of that and how they can disconnect. And Karen got out the rules and regs, which I told her to put in the correspondence folder so you could see that the disconnect fee was $200 or something, and something else was $100. And they're asking, they'd like that to be done.
Okay, but that's not the right address.
You sure that's your radio address for?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I thought those folks that we did that were on Schoolhouse Road,
Well,
two houses up from the odor control building toward the school.
that you did what?
I thought that's who these Jacobs were.
No, the Jacobs estate I know is on State Road.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know what we're
Where's
talking
that?
about. Go ahead.
Over below you.
Must be
That's
close.
below me,
Smith is 1109, this is 1115, so it's gotta be close.
right
to
around
Smith.
Chestnut Street.
And it could be that it could be that she made a typo here. I do know they live on State Road.
From Marysville to Duncan.
Yeah, it's gotta be around Chestnut Street,
Yeah.
where Joe Rudy's.
Yeah.
Nobody's living in the house at all.
No.
Well,
And so
good
she
call.
wanted to know what to do, and Karen got out the rules and regs, and it said something about, the grinder pump can be pulled. There's a $200 fee for disconnecting the grinder pump and reinstalling it, and another $100 for something. And they said they'd just as soon have it pulled out and let the new owner worry about putting it back in again, because they don't want to deal. What's happening is she's having to pay for it. And one sister won't sell, the other sisters don't want to pay, so she's paying this, and she said it's not being used.
Well, the process is.
There's no guarantee that if we just pull the grinder pump and stop everything out, they gotta cap it off inside the building.
I think they do, I think.
Because there's no way, then you gotta pay the connection fee back up and every other thing. Because if you don't cap it off inside the building, they can run water through it right over out the man way and right down there wherever they want to go.
I think it.
Well,
actually-
see,
It's either that or
that's-
they got guarantee they're gonna turn the water off or turn the electric off. That's one of the other standbys that we got. We gotta-
Alright. Okay, see, Karen was not aware of all that, nor I don't think I was either.
There's
She
no
was just
guarantee for
looking
them
at
that
what
they ain't
the,
gonna flush the toilet and run it down someplace without a pump.
Well, it should actually be in the rate rules. I thought it called
It
for
has to be
physical.
terminated.
well, she was looking at the charges. She
Oh,
was look-
okay. Yeah, it
Karen
calls for
was,
physical disconnection, I think.
Karen
and
was looking at the
inspection of that.
charges. I thought in the past there were times when you just pulled the pump.
Not for a resident that's occupiable. When we pulled the pumps, it's because they've been an unoccupied resident for a long time, right, Sam?
I think.
I mean, these pumps, we never pulled a pump just because somebody didn't wanna
Okay.
pay. There's more than just pulling a pump.
Okay.
The rules and regs means they're gonna have to cut it off, cap it, have a reconnection fee, da-da-da-da-da, just like everybody else does.
I mean, they may still wanna do it, it's just that.
It's our option to pull the grinder pump. They gotta terminate it before the grinder pump. Grinder pump has nothing, we still own that grinder pump till they sell that place. So we can leave that grinder pump in there.
Oh,
till-
no, I understand, I guess yeah.
So they have to cap it, just imagine it's going into the normal sewer system, gravity flow system. Grinder pump don't exist. They gotta cap it off inside the building, we gotta go witness it. And then they gotta pay a reconnection fee and inspection fee and
Well,
all that stuff.
that's what Karen was looking at, and that's what's highlighted in that folder somewhere that's floating
Yeah,
around
there should
here.
be something
It was
in
like
it.
$200 for the disconnection and reconnection,
You
and,
found it, Cece found the section.
And I think there is a copy, you're right, I think she did put a copy, I think it was toward the back.
I mean, they may wanna do it anyway, the problem is, it's gonna make it, they say, well, let the new owner worry about it. Well, the new owner's gonna see all these costs that are gonna have to be incurred when they buy it and take over, so it's gonna end up kinda coming back on these sisters anyway, I think, that that's their business. If they wanna stop the monthly bleeding, so to speak, so be it. That's one way of doing it. It may not be a prudent thing to do, Susan, is what I'm saying, in the overall scheme of things, but if it's just gonna sit there for years, who knows? I don't know. They can't figure out what to do with the property.
Yeah, that spells it out pretty plainly what they
section
need
is-
to do. Article 7, Section 7.10.
Yeah, I mean, once they pull it, they still gotta pay the reservation and capacity fee per year.
Yeah.
I thought you had stopped that because we had stopped charging reservation of capacity for all these other people annually because they had paid their tap fee. There are a couple of empty properties, or there are places that paid the tap fee and we were charging them reservation of capacity.
Correct.
And the ruling came down that once they paid the tap fee, that was their reservation
That's
of
right.
capacity.
That's their capacity. They're not paying a reservation charge anymore. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, that insured them the capacity.
I mean, you can run the risk that there might not be capacity available if the property's occupied again.
Yeah, it's their problem.
Yeah, but,
Yep.
but see, that negates, then I'm not understanding what the ruling was that you had come down with a number of years ago, that the tap fee guarantees, the tap fee stays with the house, and the tap fee guarantees capacity.
I think though, when they disconnect, let me look at it, that they may have to pay a new tap fee.
Now, Karen did tell them whenever they disconnect, and well, although the new owner would be in charge of the,
Reconnection.
would have the grinder pump maintenance anyway.
I may be wrong about that. This just talks about the physical disconnection. Yeah, the fees and charges you saw in the other section. This 710 is talking about the actual physical disconnection process. Cap. And it has to be inspected. Oh, wait a minute, you have to get a permit.
I mean, once they cap it off,
Oh, no, it says, if it's physically disconnected, it can't be reconnected until a reconnection permit has been issued and the fees and charges imposed under 6.10 have been paid. If they elect to reserve capacity, okay. And
they don't have to reserve capacity.
at the time of disconnection and pay that charge, then they won't be charged a new tapping fee. It's all spelled out there in 710.
All right, so
Yeah,
the
but that-
tapping fee,
That, it actually acts as though that property's never been served by public sewer. when
all
they
right,
do
so
that.
once you disconnect, then when you start over, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yes. And they have the option to reserve capacity if they want to avoid having to pay the tapping fee if there's a reconnection, but they don't have to do that. Yeah, I think as long as they're aware of the
There's a
downside.
purpose here of the way this
Right.
is. It encourages them to stay hooked up financially.
But they
It's
do
gonna
have the
cost
option.
them over 6 months worth of money to keep themselves available to reconnect. And if they terminate this thing and gets hooked back up in less than a year, it's gonna cost them more than what they would have been paid for sewer rate for a whole year.
Yeah, the idea was to discourage people from disconnecting for brief periods of time.
Discourage snowbirds.
Right. Yes.
Exactly.
I guess I just missed the part
But
where
if
once.
it's gonna be empty for, I mean, and they can't agree among themselves
years.
of what to do, then,
Maybe
you know,
come
it may
back.
be all right, it's their call.
All right,
I mean, it's a financial decision on themselves, but it's not gonna be cheap.
but they do have to pay they would have to pay a new tapping fee.
Whatever that is.
Well, maybe that's what she was getting at when she said she let the new owner worry about that.
Well,
That the new owner would know they have a tapping fee to pay.
Yeah,
Well,
and they're
explain to them
gonna,
that
and
the
they're gonna
total-
wanna reduce that from the price, I guarantee.
Yeah.
But that's another matter.
Yep, that's their business.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, once they terminate this thing, they gotta prove to us that they cannot put anything in this system.
Yeah, it has to be inspected.
I mean, so if they still pay an electric bill and they're still doing this, they're still doing that, they're crazy to unhook it.
But anyway, they can if they want.
I mean, evidently, they still got electric to it, and evidently, they still got water to it, or they wouldn't be,
They might, maybe they don't, maybe, well, they would have water.
Three sisters fighting.
No.
They would have water because they're on a well. That's no problem. But we don't know that
It's
there's
no
electric,
maybe.
I don't know that there's any electricity.
So
I don't know that anybody's going in. I don't know whether they are, I don't know whether they aren't. It's
Yeah.
possible nobody goes in the house.
Yes, no, maybe.
Okay,
okay?
yeah?
That was the last one there for new business. Is there any other new business?
Yes. We were doing the CCRs, or I wasn't involved with it, but Ed and Karen were working on CCRs. And in order to do Petersburg CCRs, we need Duncannon's water report. It happened to be a Wednesday whenever I was going up with the charts, and I told him I'd get hold of the town manager up there and ask her when we can expect the Duncannon CCRs. Well, Duncannon manager says we have until June 30th to submit those CCRs. I said, we are under the same guidelines as you are, and for you to have to wait until June 30th and get them to us, that means we're not going to be able to make compliance and get them, to get them updated. Now, Ed and Karen went online and got information that way from Duncannon, but we still didn't get the CCRs until they all came out, like yesterday, I think it was. There's got to be a way that Duncannon can see the need or the sense of urgency to supply that to us at least a week prior to.
Is that on your list, Henry?
I'll give him something else to talk about
Henry's
it.
got a longer list.
Yeah. When you sign up for 30 minutes instead of 15.
Yeah.
Mine came in the newsletter.
Okay, now, explain to me, what were you talking about here now?
The CCRs, Consumer Confidence Reports, for water.
They tell you what's in your water and what ain't in your water.
All right. If I'm not mistaken, the deadline to submit the CCRs to DEP is something like
July 1st.
July 1st. Right? And whenever I asked the Duncannon manager if she could get us the CCR, she said she had until June 30th to get them submitted to DEP. So there was no sense of urgency for her to get CCRs done so we could submit to DEP and in a reasonable amount of time too.
Yeah, it would make you late.
Yeah, it would make us late. So I don't know whether there's a penalty in that or not, but
You'd have to have a violation, and you have to report that in the following year's CCR, that you didn't get the other one on
Better not
time.
to find out if there's a penalty.
Correct.
Should be able to do it.
All right, well, I'm thinking that their meeting's after our JOAC meeting. So, huh?
I think you're right.
With that being said, hopefully I can get a chance to talk to somebody beforehand and see what all I can do without upsetting the apple cart
It's good.
and getting tarred and feathered, all that stuff. So we'll see what's up.
Increasingly more difficult.
I mean, we have a good rapport here, and it's
you
not,
do.
the intentions are not to make problems, but to aid in
Yes.
Solve
resolving
problems.
them.
Exactly,
Solve
it's to
problems.
resolve problems, you're absolutely right.
So that's what your diplomatic hat on.
Will you need me at the JOAC meeting?
I don't think we will at the present moment. Does anybody
Okay,
think
you
we
can call
will?
me if
Not
it's,
if we had it like the last one.
Yeah. Is Market Street being tore up as we talk?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
they're closing it up at night.
Good, so it's open every evening, good.
Was that part of the thing on 15 coming up here?
No.
No,
Oh, that's something different?
that's in town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We're
we're
gonna-
What
Yeah.
is it with road construction projects? I mean, in my lifetime, they started and they ended in months. Now, they go on for 5, 10 years
Well, just to let you
in
know,
the same place. It's, what the hell? How tough is that?
next year you won't be able to come up through there this time.
Nope.
You have to go up 320.
We're gonna be excommunicated with Cumberland County for 2 months.
At least.
They're gonna shut off
So I have
Florida
to
and
go up
Marysville.
the
You know
west,
that-
the east
you know
side and
that-
come
yeah,
across.
Yeah,
the-
you know that sign that says you can't get
that's
there from
faster
here?
anyway.
Well, it actually is, yeah. When my office was in the city, I used to always come up. I just stay and shoot up the east side, but, oh, geez.
Is there anything else to come before this board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Or
Been ready to move and seconded. All those in favor give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.